What's up, guys? Pittsburgh White Shorts back again with another Rush Rundown. This time, we're going to go over GGO in the English competitive metagame. This will be a quick, concise overview of GGO's strengths, weaknesses, and notable cards that you need to know in order to effectively play into it, all in 10 minutes or less. While these aren't meant to be totally comprehensive, we've included a lot of information about GGO in this video, so feel free to pause if I'm moving a bit too fast. Alright, let's jump right to it. Gale Online is a standalone Neo-Standard set that attempts to maximize consistency and spam as many early play healers as it can, elongating the game to these sort of unnatural lengths where it's basically assured to win. Pretty much all builds are going to be running the Decklists combo off of a door, but green builds are going to be fishing for reverses at level 1 to get their Union-style stock charge combo off. Most builds won't be looking for reverses at level 3, either relying on level 3 Pedo or level 3 Len to close out games. Getting into our first set of cards, we have the Fuka and Len early play package. For a total of 4 stock, GGO can easily and consistently field 3 early plays, 2 of which that heal, 1 that heals to stock, and 1 that heals normally. When people refer to GGO as Sunshine Jr., this is what they're talking about, as the Fuka and Len early play in a way similar to Chica and Yo, the Fuka coming down, your opponent paying 1, and the Len being summoned from the waiting room. Because the early play condition is having 1 copy of both the Fuka and the Len in your opponent's level, you can't really deny it after they've already set it up, allowing them to freely spam the early plays turn after turn the second they get to level 2. Since your opponent can field these for so little stock over and over, anti-changing them might not be a great idea unless you are generating a lot of advantage from that yourself. However, if you were to anti-change any target out of these 3, the big green Len here is the best one to target, as she also has ditch 2 cards to burn 1 on attack. Try to send to a zone other than waiting room, as the Fuka summons it from the waiting room on the following turn. Next, we have the level 1 combo of choice for most GGO decks, which is this Deck Len Bomb. Normally, this kind of climax combo, which is just an on-attack reveal top to add characters, wouldn't be notable if it wasn't off of door, GGO typically being an 8-door deck, which, combined with the fact that every GGO deck runs 4 copies of this Pedo Ricky, which is a summon Ricky for your opponent's current level or lower that also has Twin Drive. Twin Drive allows GGO to freely trigger doors, making this climax combo always plus as the deck runs no events, and if it reveals a door, they will add a card from grave. And then they can freely pay out the door with the Twin Drive on the Pedo and plus in their other 2 lanes, giving them lots of hand, lots of selective resource all throughout the game. If you can, try to get to level 1 first, so that at least the Len Bomb has to crash and doesn't get to hit over your level 0s, denying them the ability to create open lanes for their early plays on the following turn, so that you can maybe beat over them with your own backups or possibly use anti-change. On to probably one of the quote-unquote scariest cards that GGO has to offer, this tech card, this Fuka Zero back row support. Although at first glance just a normal level assist, it has the Deploy a Smokescreen replay effect, which has the ability for the GGO player to coin flip your deck to possibly deny you the ability to burn them instances of 1 during combat. Obviously, this turns off burn 1 finishers like Mikasa and AOT, even if it might not be completely consistent. More importantly, what this card does do is prevent you from setting the top card of your deck. If you are playing a deck like Love Live Sunshine or No Game No Life or other decks that gain a lot of advantage by setting the top card of their deck before going into attacks, just know that there is no way for you to deny the forced mill of your deck going into your turn. Also, make sure that if you are trying to go for perfect refreshes, that you add an additional extra card in there when you're doing your counting, as you will be forced to mill no matter what for every copy of this that your opponent has on the board. Probably the scarier of the 2 possible finishers in GGO, we have this Pedo. It is a very explosive on-attack finisher that has good synergy with an event in the set, the Muramasa F9. The dream for your opponent is to field 2 to 3 of these, giving 1 or 2 of them the Muramasa F9 effect, which means that when any instance of damage originating from the card it targets is cancelled, the card will restand. Since Pedo's climax combo ability is not limited to once per turn, your opponent can pay 1, burn you for 1 or 2, attack, one of those cancels, Pedo restands, and then she climax combos again. Be aware when playing against builds that are going into heavy stock charging strategies, they are likely building and sculpting towards this. 2 or 3 of these with a Muramasa F9 or 2 can easily end your game from low level 2. Moving on to counters. The most important ones are the ability of a champion Len, which is a 2-1 ditch to anti-change backup, since GGO is typically running 8 doors. The fact that they have to ditch 2 to use their anti-change isn't as bad as it would be in other decks, since they are plussing and using Twin Drive, even on their normal turns when all they are doing is attacking 3 times. There's also the Satellite Scan, which is just like Torch, allows your opponent to mill the top 4 on your turn during your battle step to add a character, allowing them to mill through their deck even if they're out, so make sure you're aware of that. As for common builds of Gale Online, the most common is definitely the 8-door build using the Trial Deck Len Bomb and the Insane Len Finisher. Some players will opt to not run this combo at all at the top in the 8-door builds and instead opt to play Standby in the other slot with just higher value large characters. As I said when discussing the gloves and stock charging cards, there are the heavy stock charge builds topping out in the blue Pedo Finisher. They will either run the green Pink Devil Len, which is a Union style combo that will stock charge them from the top of their deck, as well as reveal top and add any level 1 or higher cards to hand, or possibly the Stock Soul Gloves engine with the other stock charging cards that we looked at previously. However, everything besides the 8-door build is very, very uncommon to see at any sort of competitive event. Wrapping up GGO here, yes, they do have a Riki. All builds run 4 of it. It is the Pedo Summon Riki that also has Twin Drive, so you can't level lock GGO at all. The Len anti-change counter is the most popular by far, as nearly all builds are heavily invested in red, and GGO easily keeps hand with its 8-door triggers. As I've said throughout the video, the most popular build is definitely 8-door or 8-gate, whichever you wish to call it, as it is hyper consistent and allows your opponent to freely trigger doors while paying them out with Twin Drive throughout the game to constantly have selective pluses. Riffing off that, the set's strengths are to consistently, efficiently play repeated boards of early plays turn after turn the second they hit level 2 and forward, constantly healing, constantly presenting large beaters, and forcing you to answer them over and over and over again while the GGO player expends seemingly very few resources. Twin Drive also allows it to freely trigger door throughout the game, giving them selective pluses that the deck so needs, while not hurting their compression at all, as they can pay out the triggered climaxes during their battle step. As for weaknesses, GGO can have trouble recovering from large damage pushes if it is rushed early on in the game, as their early plays cost 4 stock to heal only twice, and they don't tank up very large on power. If you can answer GGO's early play board over and over while also having pushed them for a large damage lead, since the combined early play package costs 4 to play to their whole board and costs 4 stock, their ability to stabilize isn't as good as it might seem on paper. Similarly, since GGO invests so many deck slots into these cards that early play and heal and don't do much else, they can have trouble finishing opponents that have adequately answered their early play board, since they won't have bodies on board and they'll likely be tapped out on more of their resources, and their finishers don't push for a lot of damage just by themselves. Unless, of course, they are playing the Pedo builds, which play an entirely different game, even though they are less common. As for set popularity, GGO is relatively popular, as it is a standalone Neo-Standard set, not being Neo-Standard with normal Sword Art Online and being a self-contained 100-card booster with an additional trial deck. Because of that, you can expect to see it probably once or twice in a regional-sized tournament, although sets with similar playstyles but stronger cards typically lead players to choosing those sets over GGO. And that's basically GGO. If you liked this video, drop a like or a comment to let us know how we did, as that really helps us out. We'll be releasing more Rush Rundowns on Wednesdays every week, with our usual deck techs on every other Friday. Along with these links that we drop at the end of all of our videos, we'll also link some sample deck lists for GGO down in the description if you'd like more in-depth examples of what you run up against at a shop challenge or a regional. With that, I think we're done. Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. We'll see you all in the next one.